hear you. Sure.
All right, so like I was saying, I was trying to recap some of the things we did last time before we look at what I have for us tonight. So we also looked at how to print specific variables value using the concept called indexing. I hope you can still remember this indexing, where I told us that every element in an array or in a variable has a numerical positioning number, where the first item is at 0, and then the second item is 1. So we perform a simple task. Let's say we want to print letter G from get only instead of printing the entire value in the variable. Remember, I told us that you simply call your print command. And then from your print command, I say you have to reference the name of the variable, which is my name. And then you use square brackets. Then you call out the value you want in the variable using the index number. So if I want to call letter G for what we learned last time, you can tell us the number to call out or the number representing letter G. Can anybody tell us?
0.
0. Okay. Now, if I print, let's see if we are going to print only G from there. Perfect. Right? So that was one of the topics we looked at in our last class. So remember that we were still talking about how we can work with different data types. Talk about data types. And what led to those practical that we did last time was a string data type. Now, who can remind us what is string again? In programming or in Python programming, what is a string?
A string is a
String is what? I can't hear you. String is what?
I think a string is a variable. It's where you store a variable.
Or can someone else try for us what is Python string or what is string in programming? What is string? So we are going to look at another data type in this section. What is string in Python programming? Can someone else try Solomon and Co? What is string in Python programming? Solomon, can you hear us? Okay, so string, like we said, strings are what? They are tests. Hope you can still remember. Test what? Data types. They are test data type. For example, can somebody give us an example of string? Who can give us an example of string? Can anybody give us an example of string? Okay.
An example. An example could be like an example of a variable.
Okay. A variable is a box that stores item. What you store in the variable could be string. All right. So it's not our variable that stores string. The variable can store another type of data. So let me just help us an example of string. Example of string is my name. Are we together? My name. which could be a guero. So a guero is a string. Who can tell us why a guero is regarded as a string? Can somebody try? Why is a guero a string? Can somebody try? Okay, so let me just explain.
It is
Okay,
a string. It's a
because
it, it is a
it is a
it
string
is a
because
string because it's a name.
yeah, it's a name and also a text. Look at the definition. String are text data type. It comprises of alphabet, right? Okay, so let's get that. So for example, if I am asked to create a string variable, which means I am asked to create a container that stores string. So for example, create a string variable, a string variable. So it's going to be, let's say, name equals to. Now, who can tell us how to store string in a variable? How do we store string or text in a variable? Please, I need quick response here. How do we store string or text in a variable? It's part of what we did last time, only trying to refresh our memory.
You store it in
You
the
Okay,
you start you start it with you start it with the uh you start it by using an equals to.
yes, I've typed equals to. Okay, should I just type the Eguero like this? Is it correct like this? Is this how to store Eguero as a string in the variable? If somebody should
no
confirm.
sir.
No
You store
sir.
it in the
Who
sir. You
can?
store it in the quotation mark.
Good.
Uh,
All right. What we are learning.
you start by adding a quotation. No.
Yes, that is what I've done now. Okay, so that this is a string variable. Let's look at it again. A variable that stores text. It is called what? A variable that stores text or string. It is called what? A variable that stores string or text. It is called what? Can somebody help us? What is it called? A variable that stores text or string is called what? Anybody can try? If you can hear me, I want your response to be quick. A variable that stores text or string, it is called what? String variable. All right? Okay, so let's quickly start with the second data type. So we are still looking at types of or data types in programming. So we can just write now type of data types in Python programming. Python programming for simulation, right? So remember that we stopped at string, which is the first one, and we started by saying that data type are different kind of information we use in programming, that every programmer uses data to program. And that is why as we are learning coding, we need to start by understanding what are the kind of data we are going to be using and the rules or the syntax of handling them either with variable or with functions. So the very first one we mentioned was string. And we say string means what? String means text, right? In programming, whether you call it string or you call it text. So the second data type we are starting with is number. Are you with me? I hope we are writing. Number what? Data type. Number data type. So we are starting with this one, and let's see how far we can go. If we can finish this one and bring in the third primitive data type. Remember, I told us that in programming, we have two broad data types. Some are called basic data type, while others are called composite or advanced data type. And we are still dealing with the basic. Told us that the basic data type are the primary data type. Almost all of them are already built in the program. Are we together? Let me get a response at least for one person, just to be sure that we are following.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So right now, our focus is on understanding Python primitive or basic data type. When we are done treating the basic, we will now go into the advanced. So the second example of the basic data type is called number data type. So how do we define this data type? Right? Number data type. Number data type can be divided into two types. Can be divided into what? Two types. And what are the types? What are the types? Number data type can be divided into two types. What are the types? A, we have what we call integer. How many of us have heard of integer before now? If you have heard of integer, let me know. You have heard of integer in programming. Who have heard of integer? You have heard of integer? Okay, so integer are what? Whole number. So integer are what? I hope we are making our notes. Whole numbers. I hope we are writing. Integers are what? Whole numbers. I hope that is taken. Integers are what? Whole number. So what kind of number in programming we can say that it is a whole number? So example, let's look at the example of integer in Python. Example of integer in Python are 90. Get ready to tell us why they are called integer, these numbers. These are integers number. Can anybody tell us why they are called integers number?
They are called integers number because they are whole numbers.
Because they are number without what? Decimal units. I hope that is taken. So any number in programming that does not have a decimal unit, it is called what? Please, can you repeat that after me? Any number in programming that does not have a decimal unit, it is called what?
Integers.
Integers. It is called an integer. Okay, so let's look at the second example of number data type. So the second example, which is B, is, okay, so let me want to see if I can put it here. Second example, which is B, is float numbers. float numbers. Okay, float what? Number. That is the second example, float numbers. So let's look at the definition of float number in programming. Float numbers. I hope we are writing. Float numbers are numbers without, sorry, a number with what? With decimal units. They are number with decimal what? Units. I hope that is clear. Let me also get a response. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Okay, so I want somebody to tell us the difference between integer and float number in programming. Can somebody differentiate them before we look at some practical examples? What is the difference between integer?
In integers are numbers that doesn't have decimal points, while floats are numbers that has decimal points.
Perfect, perfect. All right, so let's look at example of float number. Let's look at examples of floats. We are doing great. Example of float number are 90.50, 80.5, 70.8. So all these are float number. Is that taken? Let's look at another name for float number in case you come across it in any computer material. Note it down. Another name for float numbers is double. Are we together? Another name for float number is what? Double. Let me get the response. Do you understand that? Another name for float is what?
Yes,
double.
sir.
Okay. Can somebody tell us why it is called double? For example, what makes 90.50 double? Okay, so let me assume you don't understand. Okay.
It's double because
Okay.
it's double because
Okay.
of it's double because it has two whole numbers
Good.
divided with a decimal point.
Good. Perfect. That is just the reason. So because it means that I can write 90 as a different number and write what? Point what? 50 as another number. That is why it is called double. All right? Okay, so let's take note of that. Now we want to perform some practical with this type of data type. We are going to do some calculation with the integer numbers and also float number. So that takes us to a different topic, right? So let's look at what we call operators, because these are signs we are going to use to perform some calculation. But before that, let's create variable that stores what? Integer, whether or variable that stores numbers, whether integers number or float number. So let's take that. This is the task. The first task for tonight. Task 1 is create variables to store computer numbers. Create variable to store computer numbers. To store computer numbers. So, e.g., some variables should store integer number, and float number. Integer and float number. Integer and float number. Solomon, are you with us? Integers and float number.
Yes, sir.
Let's hold on for a few seconds for Lemuel to join back.
Sir, please, I'm not hearing. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, yes. Just hold on. I'm just waiting for that guy to join back.
Okay, sir.
Solomon, we can hear you. All right, so if you can hear me, let's proceed. Okay, so our first task is we have to create a variable that store computer numbers such as integer and float number. Remember, we have learned what are integer and float numbers. So let's assume I want to start with integer, which are whole number. So I can say variable s holds an integer, variable d holds another integer, let's say 70. Let's say variable z holds a float number, let's say 90.8. Right? So now what I want to teach us is how we can perform calculation with these numbers stored in the variable. So let's say we are to create a simple calculator that sums up the value in variable s and value in variable d. We do it both for multiplication, for addition, for subtraction. So that takes us to what we call operators before we look at the calculation aspects. So let's write operators in Python programming. Operators in Python programming. So let's start with the definition. What is operator in programming? Not just Python. Anytime you hear programmers using the word operator, what it means are special symbols. They are special symbols. Okay, I think Lem will have joined back, or Tehila. So we are looking at operators. Let's write operators in Python programming. So like I said, whenever you hear programmers using the word operators, what it means is special sign or symbol used to perform different operations. Used to perform different operations. I hope you can hear me. Let me get a response at least for one person.
Yes.
So please, can you repeat the practical?
Yeah, we have not done much practical. Remember that we are writing this. We have already written this before the network logged you out. What we did is, like we have highlighted, remember we were supposed to create, or we are to create variable to store computer numbers such as integer and what float numbers. So we created s as a variable, and s is storing what type of number? Tehila, can you tell us what type of computer number is s holding?
An integer.
Integer. What type of value or number d variable is holding?
80.
What about z? What about z? What type of number is in
90.
z? What type of number is z holding? Is it an integer?
Float number.
Float number. Good. Now we want to do some calculation. We want to perform some calculation with these numbers stored in these three variables. But before that, we want to look at what are operators, because for us to be able to perform calculation with the values in this variable, we need to understand what is called operators in Python programming. In programming generally, not just Python, anytime you hear a programmer using the word operator, it means what? Special symbols used to perform different operations. I hope that is clear. Tehila, are you good now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's start with the types of computer operators. Since we know that operators are special signs used in performing different operations. Let's look at the categories of computer coding or programming operators. So let's look at what categories of what? Computer programming operators. I will just focus on the basic one based on our standards. So the first category we refer to that as arithmetic. I believe they must have taught us some of these things in school. Arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators. Then we also have number 2 category of computer programming or coding operators. We have logical. But can I say logical? Let me just focus on. We have assignments. Operators. We have assignment operators, right? So, like I said, all the calculation we are going to perform based on your standard will be either arithmetic operator or assignment operators. So we still have other ones, but these are the most used ones. So let's highlight some of their examples. Since we said that operators are symbols. Since we said operators are symbols. So under arithmetic, we have these as what? Times. So this represents multiplication, right? So this represents addition, comma, this represents subtraction, comma, this represents division. So under division, we have log division and ordinary division. So this one, when it is double forward slash, this is referred to as floor division. You can research on your own to understand this a little bit better. Right? So I think Lemuel is out again. So let's look at assignment operators. Under assignment operators, we have the single equals to. It's an assignment operator. Remember, I've explained it before. And then I think this is just the one we have here. So let me see if it's joining back. So let's quickly perform. The ones I am going to teach us in this session are the ones under arithmetic operators. So the first task is, remember, we are asked to perform different calculation with these numbers as programmer. So which means that we are building different calculators. So the first one is for multiplication, and that will allow us to confirm this operator. Second one will be for addition. That will also allow us to confirm this. The third one is subtraction. That will allow us to confirm this. And then of course, the division and the floor division sign. So let's start with the first one, which is multiplication. So I'll create a variable and name it multiply. Multiply. Then equals to, right? Variable multiply. Now, what are we multiplying? We want to multiply variable S value by variable D value. Solomon, can you hear me? We are developing a calculator that can multiply
Yes, sir.
80 by 70. So all we need to do is to capture the name of the variable. So we simply say S times. Now we should know that asterisk means multiplication. So we are multiplying S and what? And variable D. And then we can go to the next line and say, okay, now print multiply, which means that the calculation that will have taken place under the variable multiply, the result generated should be printed out. So you simply say what? Print. You simply say print. Print. So you can see one of the benefits of using Python. You can see the way it's prompting us those library syntax. So even though, let's assume that you don't know what to do, you can see it has already given us an idea. Oh, I'm to print multiply, right? So that doesn't mean that it has already reflected it. You still have to type it. So let me take it again. I hope Len will join back soon. So I'll say I want to print the calculated value in multiply. So I'll say multiply. Then if I print, let's check. If I print, we have the answer. So you can see that Python can actually perform calculation. That is for multiplication. So let's do for addition. Let's do for addition. Remember, we are confirming these operators, right? Remember, we said that there are special symbols are used to perform different calculation or operation. So the operation we just perform now is multiplication operation using numbers or integers stored in variables. Solomon, I hope it's clear. Are we good? So I'm going
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll perform two more and then will allow us to practicalize it in the class before we proceed. So let's create for addition we are using the same variable values. So I can say print, I can say print, print. Okay, so let's take it, let's create a variable to hold the addition calculated value. So I will say variable add equals to the value in X plus the value in D. Then Python prints out the calculation, the calculated value. Python prints out the calculated value. Print add. Print add. Print add. Let's run it and see. So we got an error, unexpected indentation or indent. Now, I want us to know that Python is not indentation friendly. Indentation means this space we are seeing here. So which means that we are not supposed to leave that space. And then the same thing to this add, we are not supposed to leave that space. Same thing with the P. That clears the error. So if I reprint, we should get the answer 150. So let me allow us to perform this. So you can do that now. Share your screen. Solomon, let's see how you able to
Okay,
perform
sir.
addition operation and multiplication operation. I want to stop sharing. Allow you to share your screen. So you can send your share request